introduce myself. I am a CL4P-TP steward bot, but my friends call me Claptrap. Or they would if any of them were still alive, or had existed in the first place.
This is how Claptrap, a character from the game series Borderlands, introduces himself when you first meet him. I think he's hilarious. 3D printing our favorite characters from movies or games is a lot of fun, but if they could talk and light up, that would be next level. Brace yourselves, this is going to be a long one. We'll go over modeling, 3D printing, the electronics for the LED eye, electronics for the speaker, programming the Arduino, painting, and assembly. Let's get started!
If I sound pleased about this, it's only because my programmers made this my default tone of voice. I'm actually quite depressed.
Of course, the whole thing is 3D printed. You can download the finished model from PrusaPrinters. But let's quickly talk about how we created it, because it could help you with your own project. Rather than starting from scratch, we've downloaded a really nice Claptrap model created by Chaos Cortec and used Blender to modify it. The function that we've used over and over is the Boolean modifier, which lets you subtract one mesh from another. First of all, we need space for the electronics and a way to access it. So we've cut the top of the body, and then we've cut out a big hole, essentially hollowing the main body. The top cover needs a hole for the button, and 2 holes for the screws that will attach it back to the body. Then we've separated the eye and created a hole for the speaker. Using a simple cylinder, we've made a holder for the eye LEDs. By modifying the original front vent cover, we've made a new one that can be printed separately. We'll use it to cover the speaker hole. To make the printing easier, we've also separated the shoulder covers. Lastly, using the sculpting tool, which we have a separate video about, we've added dents and scratches to the body to make it look worn out. Modifying an existing model is a really quick and effective way to create what you need. If you want to share your remix, don't forget to check that the license of the original model lets you do that.
Damn it, Jack! How did you know stairs were my only weakness? Next to electrocution and explosions and gunfire, rust, corrosion, being kicked a lot, viruses...
The majority of the model will be painted, so the color of the filament doesn't matter too much. But for example, for the wheel, we picked our Prusa Galaxy Black, and we'll leave that mostly unpainted. Most parts were printed from PLA. It's easy to print with, has great detail, and especially for the big body piece, it's really nice that it doesn't warp. The arms are quite thin, so we picked PETG instead, to increase their durability. The LED holder was also printed from PETG. Printing the lens though, that can be quite tricky. Following the steps in our 3D printed lenses and transparent objects article, we printed the lens from ABS, sanded it and polished it. We don't really use ABS anymore these days, but for transparent objects it works quite well. If you have access to an SLA printer, using it for the lens would be even better. We scaled the whole model up, but it can still be printed even on the original Prusa Mini. Let's leave Claptrap disassembled like this for now. It will make painting him a lot easier later on.
Minion! Now I've got my eyesight back! And you're far uglier than I remembered!
An LED strip, where you can change the color and intensity of each individual LED chip, is arguably one of the most fun electronic parts. Unlike traditional LED strips, which are powered by 12 or 24 volts, programmable LED strips usually run on 5 volts. That's really handy, because you can use the same power source for both the LED strip and the Arduino, which we'll use as the brain of the whole electronics. Specifically, an Arduino Nano clone with a micro USB port. In our previous article about lighting up 3D prints, we used an RGB LED strip. Such strips have 4 wire connections, one for the power input, and then one to ground each of the red, green and blue channels. To adjust the color, we'd have to regulate the voltage of each color channel individually. Plus, we could only change the color of the entire LED strip at once. On the other hand, a programmable LED strip has only 3 wire connections: the ground, 5-volt power input, and the data pin. The data pin is where the magic happens. We're going to use an Arduino library that will handle the data for us, but if you're curious how it works anyway, it's basically a timing-based shift register, where each LED keeps the first 24 bits, 8 bits for each red, green and blue, and forwards the rest of the data to the following chips. Route the cables through the tiny hole in the LED holder and cut a short piece of the programmable LED strip. It should have marks on it where you can safely cut without damaging it. You can often get away with no soldering by using the Arduino jumper wires. But since you'll have to solder the cables to the LED strip, we might as well solder the other side too. Normally, you should power the LED strip from the power source directly. However, the LED strip for the eye is so short that we can simply take 5 volts from the Arduino. Other than the ground, we also need to connect the data pin. Use any free data pin on the Arduino. We picked pin 3. And this is how it looks all wired up. Just an Arduino, 3 wires for the 5 volts, data and the ground, and the LED strip.
I look good. I have self-worth. Error. Unit has become self-aware. Erase preceding memory chunk. Where am I? I feel sad for some reason. Hooray!
Hooking up the electronics for an audio player is just slightly more complex than the LED strip. In order to avoid dealing with SD card readers and amplifiers, we picked an all-in-one solution. DF Player is a small and low-price MP3 module with a simplified output directly to a speaker. It has an SD card slot, which we'll use for an audio file storage. And it has receive and transmit pins, which make communication with an Arduino just a matter of connecting 2 wires. For the speaker, the DF Player datasheet suggests picking a speaker with power less than 3 watts. We bought a pack of cheap 8 ohm 0.5 watt speakers. Alternatively, you can salvage pretty good speaker from an old laptop or tablet. Following the DF Player documentation, this is our connection diagram. 5 volts to power both the DF Player and the LED strip. Black wire connects all the grounds. The button is connected to the pin 2. The polarity here doesn't matter. The receive pin, RX, connects to pin 11 on the Arduino. The transmit, TX, to pin 10. Please note the 1K resistor on the DF Player receive line. Our Arduino uses 5 volt on data lines, whereas the DF Player uses 3.3 volts. So the resistor here is necessary to compensate for the difference. And lastly, the speaker connects to DF Player speaker 1 and speaker 2 pins. The polarity here doesn't matter either. For the button, we chose a standard arcade button. It has a very satisfying click, and it can withstand even very rough pressing. You can solder its connections, but if you have crimping pliers, that's an even cleaner solution. The microSD card that we'll use for the audio storage needs to be formatted as FAT32. Create a folder in the root directory called MP3 and place the audio files here. The last step is to program the Arduino. Download the sketch linked in the article and open it in Arduino IDE. We're going to use the Fast LED library. Select Sketch, Include Library, Manage Libraries. Search for Fast LED library. The author is Daniel Garcia. Select version 332 and click Install. Install the DF Robot DF Player Mini library in the same way. Select the correct board with Tools, Board, and in our case it's Arduino Nano. Connect the Arduino to your PC and select Tools, Board, and here you should see another COM except for COM1. So select that one. Then hit Upload. The code has lots of comments in it, so it should explain everything that's going on. For example, uncommenting this line will change the play mode from looping through the songs to a random shuffle. Or you can, for example, change the colors for the eye.
Did you know my head is at your crotch level? I'm trying not to think about it.
We started painting with a coat of automotive filler, which will help to hide the layer lines. We covered both the main body and the smaller parts. We just really quickly sanded big flat surfaces and then continued with spray painting the parts white. The majority of Claptrap is yellow, and that's a very light color that doesn't cover particularly well, so having a light base color really helps in this case. With the white stripe covered with painter's tape, we used an airbrush to apply several shades of yellow and orange. The orange was used on all edges and corners to better show the form. Claptrap lives in a wasteland, so it was time to start dirtying him up. We brushed brown color into crevices and along the bottom edge of the body. Then using a sponge, we dabbed darker brown over edges and other interesting features of Claptrap. The dents that we created earlier with sculpting were filled with silver to imitate exposed metal, and the edges of those dents were highlighted with brownish color. The last big color pass was with gray. We covered all the parts that should remain yellow with painter's tape, and then sprayed all the exposed surfaces with an airbrush. For the smaller parts you can use a clamp for easier manipulation. The gray looks way too monotone like this, so we used a sponge again to dab the surface with brown and silver color. The front vent was painted silver with a brush. A step that's super effective is dry brushing with silver to simulate metal scratches. Then we printed two graphics for the front side on a normal 2D office printer, cut them out and glued them in place. We've then covered them with glossy lacquer. Once it dries, it will help to make these look like screens. The base around the wheel was covered with a really interesting Citadel texture paint, which will create a sand-like surface. The final and most satisfying step is removing the painter's tape.
Sorry, I was just thinking about the horrors I've seen since coming to Pandora. Won't happen again, I promise. Dang, my bad.
We have a really simple trick that will elevate Claptrap's look even more, and that's hot gluing some real wires to it. The fake printed and painted wires will look much better with some real ones in front of them. The hands have tiny contact areas, so super glue is better here, but to attach them to the body we used hot glue again. Then we can glue the wheel and the base to the body. Gluing the speaker to the body has a big impact on the audio loudness. Claptrap's body will work essentially as a loudspeaker enclosure. The LED holder should just slide in place. And so should the top button. Then glue in the speaker cover and the islands. In the end, it's time to connect the power bank and the button pins, and then carefully screw the top cover to the body. The last two pieces to attach are the shoulders, which should just slide in place. And with that, we are done! If you wanted to build a different kind of robot, you would just use different model and you would upload different voice lines to the SD card, but otherwise the process would be basically identical. Was this too big of a project? Would you like more videos about electronics? And do you have idea for one? Let us know in the comments below.
And as always, happy printing!
You're still watching? Okay, here's some secret little extra footage for you. As we finished this project, we chatted about it in the office and we thought maybe we could make it bigger. So at the time of recording this video, we were now reprinting Claptrap in life size. So he should be about meter tall. It's gonna be pretty crazy. You're still watching? Okay, here's last extra footage. The eye of Claptrap actually kind of really works like a lens. And it projects these pretty cool patterns when you're in a very dark room. But that's really it, okay?